Good morning, this is Thought for the Day. During a recent Zoom meeting, Neil mentioned the need for some more thoughts for the day, which felt to me like a bit of a challenge. So I thought, where can I look for inspiration? So of course I turned to the book that is so full of wisdom that you can't help being inspired. I am, of course, talking about Winnie the Pooh's Little Book of Wisdom, Wise Words from a Bear of Very Little Brain. Now I know that Hannah quoted some words of Winnie the Pooh in her recent Thought for the Day, so I'd like to point out that I thought of this before I heard Hannah's thought, though actually it was that spurred me on to actually record this message. The wise words that have inspired this thought are these. Rabbit is clever. Rabbit has brain. I suppose that's why he never understands anything. Wise words indeed. Well, we all think at some time or another on one subject or another that we know best. Some people think they know best all of the time on every subject, but we can't all be members of Parliament. God has created us and given us brains to think, and has given us free will to use our brains however we like. And that means we can choose to follow Jesus or not. We can choose to obey God or not. And because we have brains and think for ourselves, we often overthink things. And we think we can find the answers just by our own brain power. As well as creating us, designing us with our complex network of nerves and veins and muscles and bones and our brain and skin and all the other bits, a design so detailed and brilliant that our medics and scientists and clinicians still don't fully understand the half of it. God also designed and created the earth and everything in it, every living thing, and the whole universe besides. I, for one, don't think I'm cleverer than that. And I've never met anyone else who is, though I acknowledge freely that there are many who are cleverer than I am. But why would I think I can work things out on my own and come up with the right answer without asking God for help? Whether we're reading a tricky Bible passage or struggling with the challenges of everyday life or a particular problem, it's always better to ask for God's help. And I find that my brain works a lot better when I do that, and the answers I've been struggling with come a lot more easily. Some of you may have seen that film Bruce Almighty, in which Jim Carrey stars as Bruce and complains to God, played by Morgan Freeman, that he's not doing his job properly. And God offers him the chance to try being God himself. And one of the scenes I remember and always think of from this film is when Bruce gets home one day to find that every square inch of his house is plastered with post-it notes, which are requests from different people. In other words, they're prayer requests to God. And Bruce realises that he can't possibly deal with all these requests. I think of it as a graphic illustration of what God deals with every day. And the truth is that while Bruce thought it was all a bit much, thought it was a total nightmare trying to be God and having to deal with all our problems, the real God loves to hear from us. And because he's awesome and there's nothing he doesn't know, and because of 100 other reasons that I might struggle to put into words, he loves to help us to help us deal with the things that are on our minds, those things that concern and worry us. Rabbit is clever. Rabbit has brain. I suppose that's why he never understands everything. Don't be like Rabbit and let your own brain get in the way of true understanding. Instead, turn to God. He's much cleverer than you and I and longs to help us in time of need, or just to give us a better understanding of those things that matter, especially when we struggle. Winnie the Pooh is obviously very wise indeed. Without Pooh, the adventure would be impossible. Impossible without me. That sort of bear. In another book that's full of very wise words, the Bible, Proverbs chapter 2 says this: If you store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He holds success in store for the upright. He is a shield to those whose way of life is blameless, and he guards the cause of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 to 8. Amen.